Hi, everybody. This is Glenn Winningham, House of Fern, talking to you from Canada. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about judges today. First of all, you may have heard about this show trial that they held in Canada over with the customs pigs. And so I wanted to present my side of the story. And let me qualify some of the things I'm going to say here. Pigs are persons in government who intend to perjure their oath. And whores are people that are selling themselves. These judicial whores are, for sale to the highest bidder. And so I'll be calling them whores. And a bitch is a female dog. And so I have a friend of mine, or a guy that I know, that's a dog handler for the police, and he calls them a bitch all the time. So when I refer to the Queen as a bitch, that's actually doing a disservice to dogs. But because a dog, if he's your enemy, he'll tell you up front. He won't be playing like he's your friend and slipping a knife in your back. And so, anyways, a little bit of definitions up front. So, these customs pigs, their color of law statute is color of law. In other words, it hasn't been signed by the Governor General. It's not a lawful, valid act. It's pretend legislation. It talks about it even in these law dictionaries. And Blackstone talks about it. And so pretend legislation is legislation that's not really an act. It's a regulatory thing that they don't follow proper procedures when they do their act. And so, and they do a lot of things. They may put an emergency clause in there, and the Supreme Court has said that emergency is justification for nothing. And so, or they may, if you read in the session laws, you'll find out that the text of the law that was passed is completely different than what is they're publishing. Or another thing they'll do is they'll if you read, like, they're supposed to read it 3 times in the Senate and 3 times in the House, and then it's supposed to have royal assent. And the same thing applies in the U.S. In other words, the royal assent would be the president. And so that's what they're supposed to do. And so they'll be saying, well, it's 2 minutes till quitting time, so we got to read this bill. And so they'll read the bill, and it turns out to be an 800-page bill. And so, obviously they didn't read the bill. They read the title of the bill, and that's not reading the text of the bill. And so, they play all these games, and you can find all that information out in the session laws, and also looking in the in Canada it's called a Hansards. In the U.S. it's called a congressional report. And in the various states there'll be a journal of the state legislature, and you'll find where some of the stuff hasn't been approved by the governor or the president, and all sorts of stuff. And according to Blackstone and others, unless it's been approved by the Senate, unless it's been approved by the House, unless it's got royal assent or signed by the president, it's not a valid law. And so the Customs Act, and I even gave him an opportunity. I said that if you send me an affidavit saying that the Customs Act is a lawful, valid act, and I'm a person as defined by the act, there was actually a bunch of things that I told them that if they send me an affidavit, then I'll beg forgiveness, I'll plead guilty, and I'll beg forgiveness. And of course they didn't want to do that because they want to operate on hype and innuendo. And these judicial whores are nothing but whores. They're all getting royalties. They're everything in the courts is based on hype and innuendo, and that's all it is. And so they'll just fabricate a bunch of stuff, and you don't get a jury trial. It was a summary hearing, and I demanded a jury trial, and obviously I didn't get it. That's when I walked out. And so they don't want a jury trial. They'd never want a jury to hear something like that, because then the jury might say, well, this is not a valid law, or this is not a lawful act, or we don't like this law. It's a stupid law. And so we're just going to find them not guilty. They can't have that. And so that's why they have these summary show trials, which is exactly what it is. It's a show trial. They put on this charade, and then convict you based on it. And that's why I left, because I saw the writing on the wall, and I wasn't going to play their little game. And so now they've got a warrant, and whatever. I guess we'll see what happens. But at any rate, so these people are just the lowest form of life there is. Before the 1900s, they used to hang judges on a regular basis, and now, because it's all commercial, they gave them immunity, and so the Parliament is just as much as responsible, and the local provincial legislatures. I mean, they lay awake at night with this stuff, and so. They're since then they have no immunity. They can do literally anything they want. They don't care. And then what happens is, when you pay the filing fee, they demand a filing fee. And so when you pay a filing fee, think about it. You turn their oath of office into a commercial transaction. You turn it into an admiralty case. Why do you think they have all these admiralty symbols in there? Actually, the judge can actually wear a bunch of different hats. He can wear an equity hat. He can wear an admiralty hat. He can wear a common law hat. But when you pay that filing fee, and it's all dependent on your pleadings. But when you pay that filing fee, what happens is it turns it into an admiralty case. And these courts are all banks, and they go and leverage these filing fees. So if you pay a $400 filing fee, that's worth $12,000 to the balance sheet of the court, and it's a big money-making business. And so they don't care. They couldn't care less about anything just being done. Matter of fact, if they go and put some defects in there, and it goes on to the Court of Appeals, then their buddies in the Court of Appeals are going to make some money. And so it's all a big money scam, is what it is. These people are just nothing but thieves, and we need to take our government back and start putting it in the hands of our common law juries, and put an end to this stuff, because the jails are populated in the U.S. There's a bigger percentage of people in jail than there is in any other country on the planet, and it's all a big money-making business for the bankster thieves and these judicial whores. And there's Harvard Law Review articles about how most of them retire millionaires because of the royalties they're collecting off of admiralty cases. And so what happens is, the judicial whore is collecting a royalty, and this prosecutor, bar member thief, he's collecting a royalty, and you're sitting back there thinking that there's going to be some justice done. Well, there has absolutely nothing to do with justice. It's just a commercial transaction, and they're a bunch of thieves. And in Canada, there's some question as to whether they even have a valid oath. There's articles on the internet and YouTube videos about how the Queen, the coronation on the Queen wasn't done on the Stone of Scone, and furthermore, she's perjured her oath because she hasn't upheld the things that she said in her oath, and in fact, there's a case that talks about it, and so if the Queen doesn't have an oath, if you understand how oaths of office works, if the guy that's administering the oath doesn't have a valid oath, then the guy that gets the oath doesn't have one either. And so in Alberta, they won't let you see the oath. That tells me that the damn thing's a fraud, and they don't have an oath. So again, there's more evidence that it's just nothing more than a commercial transaction. These people are just the lowest form of life there is, and they ought to be exterminated off the face of the planet, in my opinion. Now, I'm glad that it's not my choice. I would never do anything that wouldn't be according to the law, but I'd sure like to get a jury of my peers and start bringing some of these crooks to trial, and I would love to do that, and I would love to see them do that little dance they do at the end of a common law rope. Now, some of them, might be half decent people. I don't know. I wouldn't want to convict anybody that's innocent, and I wouldn't want to. But I can guarantee you that there's some of them that are just flat-out thieves. There's newspaper articles and stuff like that about judges that get caught, which is the exceptions to the rule. Like some judge in Pennsylvania, I've got an article about some judge in Pennsylvania that got sentenced to 30 years in jail because he was selling prisoners to the local jails, which is, they do that stuff all the time. This guy just got caught. And, these people are just the lowest form of life there is. They come across like they're holier than thou. If you don't go in and beg, or don't say it right, or leave something out in your pleadings, then they'll just rule against you, and you can go on to the Court of Appeals and make some money for their whores in the Court of Appeals. And so, it just goes on and on. Don't get me going. Anyways, that's my little tirade for today, and I'm going to upload this to YouTube, And so hopefully a bunch of people get this and see what's going on, and we can affect some change. Because really the Magna Carta says that you're only supposed to be damaged by a jury of your peers, which means a common law jury, and the law of the land is just, they're saying it again, because the law of the land means common law. And so that's the only place that should be done, and it should be a jury of your peers. And the way a jury of your peers operates is they call the witnesses, they question the witnesses, they determine the law and the facts of the matter, and they, even if necessary, pronounce sentence. And at common law, there's no jails, and so they'll put these bankster thieves out of business in a really quick, because, and in fact, common law is very severe, and the reason is because there are no jails. And so what happens is that, if somebody's injured, it's got to be settled right now. That's why it's literally an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And so what happens is if you cause someone to lose their eye, then you lose your eye, and it's settled, it's done, it's finished right now. And they don't need to worry about an address, they don't need to know how to find you, they don't need nothing. And that's that common law. That's the way it's done. But what happened is, some guy, theoretically there was some guy that was going to get his eye punched out, and he says, hold it, I got a lot of money, will you take $1 million and not punch my eye out? And then the guy that had lost his eye says, okay, sure, I'll take $1 million. And so there you got the idea of insurance now. And so that's how it all evolved. And what happens is the first recorded juries in 1700 BC, and it was in Wales, believe it or not, and it was brought there by a group of people who came there from the area of the Caucasus Mountains, which is, interestingly enough, a place where the Ark settled. And so, that's how that jury operated. Is they would call the witnesses, they had to be your peers, they would call the witnesses, they would question the witnesses, they would determine the law and the facts of the matter, and they'd even pronounce sentence. And there's a principle of a law called jury nullification. In other words, the jury can say this is a stupid law, so we're just going to find you not guilty. And that's as old as time itself. In colonial days in the U.S., the crown pigs had to take people to England to put them on trial, because they knew they couldn't get a conviction in the U.S. And that is the power of a jury, okay? And we all need to understand that. We need to circulate this around far and wide, because we the people need to start standing up for ourselves. I wonder how it's going to look on Judgment Day when I'm sitting here fighting for my rights, and all these brain dead idiots out there are doing nothing. How is that going to look on Judgment Day? I don't think they're going to have much to say to God on Judgment Day when they're held accountable. Because if you know that something is wrong and you don't do something about it, then you're at least partially responsible when they do it to the next guy. And that's the reason I fought this thing, all the way. And it's just a show trial, and they're nothing but thieves. And that's all it is. And so, anyways, I guess I'll wrap it up now and talk to you soon.